Hey everybody, and welcome back to the blog post for this week. It's going to be part two. If you remember 2 weeks ago, I did Grasshopper, Are You a Grasshopper, and Ant part one. And so this week we're going to finish that up, Are You a Grasshopper and Ant part two. And if you remember, we don't want to be either, we want to be the farmer. But first, before we go into this, I was asked a question by a friend shortly after part one was published, and he asked me a question, and he asked me, what do you think that the ant would have said to the grasshopper when he stood outside the window? You know, he's standing there shivering cold, and he's unprepared for winter. And the only thing that I could think of, I was kind of stumped there for a second, but as I thought about this more and more over the next week and a half as I was preparing this, the only thing that I could think of that he would have said was, "You fool, what were you thinking? You know, you knew that things were going to get tough. You knew that hard times were going to be ahead at some point in time. You know, that was the time to prepare, but you sat and played too much." So the only thing I could think of was that he would have called him a fool and, sorry, you kind of missed your chance. So it's a funny thought because that he brought this up, because right here in Vernal, and many of you that are tuning into this live in Vernal right now, but we're kind of taking a little bit of a dive in the economy right now because of the price of oil and how it's fluctuating, because we live in a predominantly oil town, and we rely heavily on drilling operations and production operations out here. And we're hearing stories about layoffs and just it just seems like hard times are ahead. So it's kind of like we're in that position now where we grasshoppers or ants? Are we prepared for what's about to come? So it's kind of interesting that this all just kind of came about over that course of time. But yeah, I think that's probably what the ant was saying. You should have been prepared, man. You should have been paying attention to what we were talking about. So anyways, let's get back to where we left off last time. So we left off last time talking about the need to plant seeds to prepare for the future. The grasshopper did nothing. The ant worked his tail off, but was still dependent on others to either drop food or for other plants to grow. And he was just gathering. But I said that we need to kind of go the route of being a farmer, and while we are working like the ants, we also need to be planting seeds that are going to prepare us for the future, especially in situations that we're finding ourselves in now, kind of with the downturn. So we've all been given talents and abilities and strengths, okay? But it's not always apparent exactly what they are. We're given the opportunity to find them while we're here on this earth, and we're given the opportunity to find them, to use them and provide value to ourselves, but also value to our communities and to others around us. So in a more literal sense, we need to be planting seeds that are going to prepare us for the future. And here's kind of what I mean. So talking about a simple seed here, you need to be putting value out into the world. And many people don't like to hear what I'm about to say next, but you need to be doing it for free. Yes, I said for free, or even at a little bit of a cost to yourself, okay? And John and I are being asked that all the time with this project that we're doing right now with the Mormons in Business. So are you getting paid to do this? And the answer is no, we're not getting paid to do this. But we're just trying to provide value, and we're trying to plant seeds and put them out in the community, not just our local community here, but a kind of a global community, because the internet has global reach. And so we're trying to put that value out there and plant those seeds. And that's what a seed is. It's something that you're going to plant now, and it's going to take time to nurture it. It's going to take resources. It's going to take attention. But after it's given all these things, it's going to give back. So even if you're not an entrepreneur, and if you're not an entrepreneur, this most likely means that you're employed by somebody else. And the only issue that I see with being employed by someone else is you're reliant and you're dependent on them. You're at their mercy. And this could be really scary, especially in times like we're seeing right now. This can be really scary if the only thing that you're bringing in comes from that one employer. And so then after cutbacks are made, the dance of the resumes start, and all that hoopla begins, and it's not fun. It can be stressful and it can be tough on your family life. So what seeds can you plant to counteract that? To be a little more specific, become an expert. And what I mean by becoming an expert, well, my definition of becoming an expert is simply this. It's a person who is perceived by others to be very knowledgeable on a certain subject. So does that mean that you do have to know everything? No. It doesn't mean that you need to go out there and try to fool people into thinking you're an expert, but you don't need to know everything there is to know about a certain subject, okay? If you feel like you need to have full knowledge of everything, that's going to hold you back and it's going to stop you from progressing, and you're not going to actually make any progress forward. So you don't have to know everything. I've currently got another seed planting venture, I guess you would call it, that almost didn't launch. And it's because I was nervous that I didn't have enough knowledge or information to put up and to launch the project right away. And as I kept that thought process more and more, and as I compiled more and more information, it started to hold me back. I was pushing back launch dates, and it was starting to really delay my progress. So one day I just decided, you know what, forget it. It's time to just do it, even though it's not fully there and the way that I want it to be. And turns out that the response has been really good. It's been really great. I have had very little criticism of it. I've had a lot of people visiting, giving me feedback. And as I continue to build, as I continue to add a drop to the bucket each and every day, it just gets better and better. So that's why it's called a seed. It starts out small and then it grows as you nurture it and as you add to it. So what are some of the seeds that you can plant right now that are going to be the easiest thing to prepare for the future? It kind of depends, and this is not a really good answer, but it kind of depends on what industry you're in. But for most industries, there is one thing that you can do, and if you know who Seth Godin is or read any of his stuff, he says everybody should be a blogger. And so that's the easiest thing that you can do is start a blog. They're free. You can pay to make them a little more fancy if you want, but they're free. They're easy. They take very little time. And you may be thinking, I know, everybody out there has a blog and it just seems like a waste of time. Well, I'm here to tell you that not everybody out there has a blog, and it's absolutely not a waste of time. And I'm not talking about, the family blogs where you're chronicling all of your potty training adventures and family vacations and stuff. That's not, that's providing value for you and immediate family. That's not providing a whole lot of value to the community and to the rest of the world. So starting a blog is going to be one of the best and easiest things that you can do to become an expert and to showcase yourself as an expert. So it's a seed, and what you can do is find what you're interested in, okay? Even if it's your current profession, all right? So for instance, I currently, work in an electrical wholesale place, and I work with electricians, selling them parts. So this other venture I've started is a niche venture towards the electrical market. And so I'm providing value, I'm providing knowledge, I'm providing resources, and it provides a way for me to set myself apart and try to become an expert in that field so that maybe it will draw others back to me. Now, say you're interested in cooking and you decide to start a cooking blog. You can write about recipes, you can write about techniques, you can write about things that interest you, different countries, all that kind of stuff. Well, as you attract other people that are interested in the same thing, you begin to get followers and you begin to create this group and this tribe of people that eventually, if you give them enough value, they will provide support back to you. And so, like I say, it can be within your own industry, it can be within some completely different realm from what you do at your day job. But, find something, because another thing that this can do for you is if you do end up having to go search, if you have provided the right kind of content and the right kind of value, you can use this as part of your resume. You can use this to show a current employer, if that's what you're looking for. Look, this is what I have built. This is what I've been doing. This is what you can expect from me. And it can be one more piece to get you closer to the job or to the life that you want. So that's just one example of a very easy, very inexpensive seed that you can plant now. And if you work on it either every day or every week, as long as you're consistent in doing it and taking care of it and nurturing it, at some point in the future, it will return to you more than what you put into it. So kind of the point, kind of the point that I want to make here today is make sure you're preparing, make sure you're growing every single day and not just staying stagnant or coasting, because if you're coasting, most likely that means you're going downhill. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope that this made sense, hope that you enjoyed it, hope that you can glean something from it. And just like to invite you to sign up for the newsletter. That'll put you on the list to get updates from us every single week when we put them out, and get prepared for the launch of the podcast coming February 4th. We're going to be interviewing a lot of great, interesting people about their successes and failures inside of their own little worlds, and you'll get great ideas as to how you can better your life as well. So thanks again for tuning in. Much appreciated. And until next week, get out there and find an excuse to win.